الحمد لله وحده والصلاة والسلام على من لا نبي بعده أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله وحده لا شريك له وأشهد أن محمدا عبده ورسوله صلى الله عليه وعلى آله وصحبه وسلم تسليما كثيرا مزيدا أما بعد. Respected brothers and listeners, Barakallahu feekum wa jazakumullahu khayrun kathira for attending and staying behind to listen to some words about the deen of Allah Azza wa Jal. That we may come together and remember Allah Azza wa Jal and speak about the deen of Allah Azza wa Jal and earn reward for gathering for the sake of His deen. And insha'Allah ta'ala to benefit and learn something about His deen, bi'idhnillahi ta'ala. As we discussed last time, the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam and the prophets, all of them, and messengers, alayhimus salatu wassalam, beginning with them, onto the Sahaba radiyallahu anhum ajma'een, the Tabi'een after them and the Salaf, their tradition was to begin with the most important topics. So everything has a tartib, everything has a priority order in Islam. So to begin with the most important topics, even though those things may be the most simple things, but to begin with them. And then to move on. As we mentioned last time in the hadith of Mu'adh ibn Jabal, radiallahu anh, that the Prophet alayhi salatu wassalam, he sent him to Yemen. And he said to him that you will come across a people from the people of the book. And when you find them, then let the first thing that you call them towards be the shahada of La ilaha illallah. Or in another narration, that they consider Allah one. And then after that, if they obey you in this, only then do you move on to talking to them about salah, and then Sawm, and then the other things in Islam. So it has been the tradition of the scholars and the Salaf to start with the issues related to Tawheed, until we have learnt the most important things about these issues, so that we can, enough about it so that we can save ourselves from its pitfalls. Then we can move on to other topics. People want to hear entertaining talks about interesting topics, Dajjal, marriage, I don't know. People want to hear about other things. If we ponder over the state of the Muslims, both in this country and worldwide, both in an individual sense and as an ummah, we find that if we weigh up their states against the Quran and the Sunnah, that they are falling very short. We are falling very short of where we should be. That our main issue and our main problem, and the most devastating issue that has affected the Muslims, is the lack of knowledge and adherence about at-Tawheed. About at-Tawheed. And those things which break Tawheed. As we defined last time, that Tawheed loosely means to consider Allah to be one. However, the technical definition of it is to single out Allah only for worship. So in all those things which are considered worship, we only attribute to Allah only. This time, as with every contract in life, you have to know that which breaks it. You have to know that which opposes it as well. So if a person wants to remain within Tawheed, they need to know that which opposes Tawheed, so that they know how to stay away from it. And the scholars, they say that it is incumbent upon every Muslim to learn and have enough knowledge about Shirk, associating partners with Allah. To have enough knowledge about this topic, so that a person can remain free from it and save himself from it in all its aspects, both minor and major. So it's incumbent upon all of us to have a certain amount of knowledge about Shirk. About Shirk. And what is Shirk? It is to associate partners with Allah Azza wa Jal. It is to ascribe a partner, a sharer with Allah in His lordship or in His worship. The Prophet ﷺ, he said that the hour, the last day, it will not be established. The hour will not be established until there are tribes from my ummah who attach themselves to the people of Shirk. They attach themselves to the people of Shirk, the mushriks. And until there are tribes from my ummah who themselves commit Shirk. From the ummah of Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. The last day will not come until we see that day. The hadith is in Abu Dawud and it's Sahih. A lot of people, they ask, why do we need to study this topic? Why do we need to know about Shirk? It's depressing. We don't need to talk about Shirk. We're Muslims. We already know that God is one and we pray to God, and we don't have these idols in our houses like the Hindus, etc. We don't need to know about Shirk. But as I say, firstly, the scholars say that it's incumbent for us to learn enough that we can save ourselves from it first and foremost. Secondly, we have the hadith which I've just mentioned, where the Nabi of Allah alayhi salatu wassalam, he has warned that you people, you Muslims are in danger of this shirk, because before the day of judgment comes, there will be tribes from this ummah who fall into it. And we know from the hadith of Bukhari and Muslim that the Nabi of Allah alayhi salatu wassalam, he also says that you will surely follow the ways of those who came before you. You will follow their traditions, handspan by handspan, meaning detail by detail. You will follow their traditions, their ways, to the extent that if one of them was to go inside one hole, a lizard's hole, then you would be the next one to enter upon them. The Sahabi Hudhayfah radiallahu anhu, he says in an authentic narration that the people, generally they used to ask the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam about the good things to do. They used to ask him that, what thing can I do which will earn me reward, and what good things can I do? So he says that I used to ask the Prophet alayhi salatu wasallam about evil things. I used to ask him about wrong things. Tell me what's wrong, tell me what's evil, tell me what's destructive, what will deviate me, so that I do not fall into it, so that I know how to stay away from it and not fall into it. And if we ponder over the state of the Muslims, wallahi ya ikhwan, you will struggle to find a land in which the Muslims reside where there is not shirk upon shirk. Sah? You will struggle to find. I'm not saying there isn't one. Allahu A'lam. But of the Muslim lands, and not just a small amount of shirk here and there, somebody's doing something wrong in one house, two houses, open, clear-cut shirk in the lands of the Muslims, and not being committed by the Muslims who feel that, we're wrong, we know it's wrong. No, Muslims who are justifying this in the name of Islam, justifying shirk in the name of Islam. To what do I refer? Building up the graves, making sujood at the graves. Sujood, ya ikhwan, at the graves. Sujood at the feet of living personalities. Making sacrifices for living and dead personalities. Swearing oaths on living and dead personalities. Making tawaf of the qubur, the graves. Calling upon other than Allah Azza wa Jal, both dead and alive, calling upon them. These things are present in all the lands of the Muslims, or most of the lands of the Muslims. And if we ask ourselves, how were the Muslims of the past successful? How were the Muslims of the past successful? Beginning with the Sahaba, radiallahu anhum. Even the Prophet alayhi salatu wassalam. How did the Sahaba become victorious on the day of Badr? How did they? With their 313 men against great armies. And Badr is just one example, but there are many examples in the history of the Muslims. In battles where they've been greatly outnumbered and overpowered in terms of physical strength and weaponry. But the Muslims were successful. How? How in the time of Umar radiallahu anhu did Islam, which was originally opposed by the people and put restrictions on the people, spread to all of those lands across the Arabian Peninsula and out of it in just his time alone? This success, ya ikhwan, the spread of this da'wah, the success of Islam, did it come from the physical, human strength and ability of these particular individuals? Did it come from intellectual plotting and planning and creating? They were great people. But we know, and it doesn't take the most intellectually gifted individual to work out, that the reason for the success of the Muslims was the help of Allah Azza wa Jal. It was the nasr of Allah Azza wa Jal. And this is how the Muslims conquered Mecca again. This is how the Muslims were successful in all of these instances, through the help of Allah Azza wa Jal. And so if we wonder why the Muslims are in the state that they're in, politically, militarily, spiritually, socially, then we can attribute these problems, we can attribute this weakness that the Muslims are in to unfortunately, not being able to attract or not being able to receive the help of Allah Azza wa Jal. Allah Azza wa Jal is not helping the Muslims in the same way that He would have helped the Muslims had the Muslims clung to the Quran and clung to the Sunnah of the Rasul sallallahu alaihi wasallam. And the first of the pretexts of Islam is what? At-Tawfeeq, and freedom from Shirk. That is the first and foremost, most important pretext of Islam. So if we are failing, and if the Muslim lands and the Muslim people and the communities that we have, even here, are failing in this topic, then how do we expect the help of Allah Azza wa Jal to come to us, ya ikhwan? If we don't believe in Allah in the proper way, and we don't free ourselves from shirk, then how do we expect the help of Allah Azza wa Jal to come? The definition of a shirk, one good definition has been given by our Shaykh Salih ibn Fawzan al-Fawzan, hafidhahullah ta'ala. He says that, in translation, shirk is to designate an associate or a partner, a sharik in the Arabic language, with Allah in His rububiyyah, His lordship, or in His uluhiyyah, His worthiness of worship. In most cases, the association, the ishraq, is in the uluhiyyah. By calling upon someone along with Allah or designating for other than Allah something from the various types of worship, such as sacrifice, taking oaths, fearing, hoping, loving. So the Shaykh defines a shirk as being when you associate someone else or something else along with Allah in His lordship or in His worship. And he says that the majority of cases are in His worship. And then he mentions some of the types of worship. We as Muslims, a lot of us, we think that worship is only performing salah, bowing, prostrating, and we might stretch it to hajj and other things. But in reality, ibadah, the Islamic Sharia sense is humility and devotion and prescribed Sharia actions for Allah Azza wa Jal. And the types of them, some of them include making sacrifices. Like when we sacrifice the animals, this is making a sacrifice. If it is done for other than Allah, then you have associated a partner with Allah in that worship. Taking oaths, fearing beyond what is normally human, fearing, praying towards, bowing for. All of these things are the types of worship. In Islam, a shirk, to associate partners with Allah, is considered to be the greatest of sins. It's the greatest of all sins. It's the greatest of all sins. So much that the scholars, they say that even minor shirk, it is greater than the greatest sin. So what are the greatest sins? Some examples. And there's ikhtilaf between the ulama, which is the top, but some examples, for example, murder, zina, leaving salah, so on and so forth. And then above them is the minor shirk. And then above that is the major shirk. As Allah Azza wa Jal, He says in the Quran, إِنَّ الشِّرْكَ لَظُلْمٌ عَظِيمٌ. Indeed, shirk is most surely a great oppression. It is a great oppression. And Allah Azza wa Jal, He also says, إِنَّ اللَّهَ لَا يَغْفِرُ أَن يُشْرَكَ بِهِ وَيَغْفِرُ مَا دُونَ ذَلِكَ لِمَن يَشَاءُ. That indeed Allah does not ever forgive. He does not forgive that He be associated in partners with. He does not forgive shirk. But He forgives other than that, anything to whoever He wishes. But He does not forgive shirk. He does not forgive shirk. Unless, of course, a person does not die upon that shirk and they've changed their ways and they've become Muslim. That's different. But He does not forgive shirk if it remains with a person after death. طيب. He also says, إِنَّهُ مَن يُشْرِكْ بِاللَّهِ فَقَدْ حَرَّمَ اللَّهُ عَلَيْهِ الْجَنَّةِ. That indeed, the one who commits shirk with Allah, that indeed Allah has made the Jannah, the paradise, haram upon him. It is not permissible, it is not correct, it will not happen that a person who has committed shirk will enter Jannah. وَمَأْوَاهُ النَّارِ. And his final abode shall be the hellfire. Shirk, it is a deficiency. It is a deficiency a person ascribes to Allah wrongfully, because Allah has freed Himself from shirk. Allah Azza wa Jal has freed Himself from shirk. So a person who ascribes shirk to Allah, then they have wrongly ascribed something to Allah that He negated from His own self. And this is why it is considered to be a great injustice. It is a great injustice. Now every human being, ya ikhwan, they hate injustice. Every human being with a heart and a soul and aql, they dislike injustice. They dislike injustice, wrongdoing. Now, if injustice, dhulm, is defined as placing something in a place other than its correct place, meaning wrongly ascribing something. And if you feel sorry and bad for the person who is madhroom, the person who shirk is, who dhulm is done upon them, then naturally, like for example, the orphan whose wealth is taken, the person whose rights are taken away from them, somebody who is hurt and harmed wrongfully, you feel sorry for them, you feel bad for them. You want that dhulm, that oppression to be removed from them. Then how much more so if Allah Azza wa Jal, the creator, the sustainer, the provider of all of mankind, is oppressed. If He is being oppressed by His creation, then how much more so should we feel for this? I want to quote one of the great Imams of this ummah in this regard, who his name is, or he's known as Imam Ibn al-Qayyim, rahimahullah ta'ala. He says in one of his books that Allah, the Exalted, informed that the purpose and affair of creation was to know His names and to worship Him alone, without associates, so that the people could become trustworthy. And that is the justice by which the heavens and the earth are established. And Allah the Glorified, He informed us that He sent His messengers and revealed His books to establish the people upon fairness, and that is justice, and that from the greatest fairness is Tawheed. That is the greatest fairness. And it is the head of justice and its maintainer, and shirk is injustice. As Allah Azza wa Jal, He said, as I previously quoted, Inna shirka la dhulmun azim, that indeed shirk is surely a great oppression. So shirk is the greatest injustice, and Tawheed is the best form of justice. So what can be greater denial than this meaning? So it is the greatest of major sins, to the extent that it is said that when shirk itself negates something, it becomes the greatest of major sins absolutely. And Allah has prohibited paradise upon everyone who commits shirk. And He has made His blood, wealth and family permissible for the people of Tawheed. Allah the Exalted has refused to accept any actions from the mushrik, the one who commits shirk, nor is there any intercession for him. Neither is his final supplication answered, nor is it accepted due to his hope. Because the mushrik is the most ignorant person concerning Allah, since he makes something from His creation one to be called upon. And that is the utmost limit of ignorance concerning Him. as it is the utmost limit of injustice to him. And if the mushrik only knew the reality, then he would not commit this transgression upon his Lord, and the transgression upon himself. Al-Jawab al-Kafi. It's from the book Al-Jawab al-Kafi by Imam Ibn Qayyim. After what we've mentioned, Ya Ikhwan, we can see the dangers of shirk. We can see how detrimental shirk is and how easily it's fallen into, as it is being fallen into by the ummah today, unfortunately. Next, shirk, it divides into two categories. It divides into two categories. There is major shirk and there is minor shirk. There is a big shirk, which is very dangerous, and there is a minor, smaller shirk, which is slightly less dangerous. The major shirk is to make something from any of the types of worship for other than Allah. If any of the types of worship are ascribed to someone other than Allah, like for example, sacrificing for other than Allah, taking oaths, calling upon, seeking help from, all of these things, they will be shirk with Allah if they are done to other than Allah Azza wa Jal. Like for example, those who they make dua to the prophets, to any of the prophets. The Muslims, this is something which is a Christian concept, that you need an intercessor to go between yourself and Allah. You can't ask directly. You need to go and ask your priest or your pir or your maulana or your sheikh. This is not from Islam. This has never been from Islam. The Muslims are those who raise their hands and ask from Allah directly. And Allah is As-Sami', Al-Basir, Al-Alim. And Allah can hear and can see, and He knows that which you're asking. But there are people who call upon the Prophet. They make dua to the Prophet. They make dua to their saints, to their scholars, to their maulanas. They make dua to those who are dead in the graves, and other things like this. These things are all considered to be major shirk. These things are all considered to be major shirk. And what is the harm, ya ikhwan, of falling into this major shirk and doing this great wrong thing? What is the harm? The harm is that the major shirk, according to the ijma' of this ummah, the consensus of this ummah, it removes a person from the fold of Islam. Huwa mukhrijun min al-millah. It is that which takes a person out from the religion and makes a person a kafir, unfortunately. So shirk is the absolute worst sin, and obviously major shirk is the worst of them. So to commit this major shirk, then this will take a person out of the fold of Islam, and we ask Allah's help and protection from this. Minor shirk, the second category, which is the lesser shirk, the minor shirk, and it is still not minor. Don't be deceived by the name. It is not minor. Like the youngsters say, it's a minor. It's not a minor. It's still a major, but it's just lesser. So we can call it the lesser shirk. Ash-shirk al-asghar. The lesser shirk does not expel a person from the religion. Tayyib. It is not a mukhrij min al-millah. It is not something which will remove a person from the fold of Islam. And it further separates into two types. The first type is that which is apparent. That which is apparent of that shirk. For example, using words like those used when a person swears on other than Allah's name. Tayyib. This is a minor shirk, a lesser shirk. The other types of things, some other examples of minor, lesser shirk are, for example, when a person wears a ring or a necklace or some sort of charm, okay, in the hope that this will aid them and help them. In the hope that this will aid and help them. This is from the minor shirk. Providing a person considers that this ta'weed, this amulet, this tamimah, this ring, or whatever it is, providing they only think that this object is the cause or is the reason or is a helper in removing this affliction or bringing this help. Okay? If they believe, however, that that thing itself is removing the difficulty, or that that object itself is bringing help, then that will actually be major shirk. That would be major shirk. Because that is clearly associating a partner in the lordship of Allah. But in the way that they're commonly used, meaning the people generally, they understand that Allah is the one that does everything, but these things they help. They bring about help. Because the Sharia has not given authority, there is no proof. It has not granted any authority to use such things, then to use it will be considered something, taking blessing from something other than the religion of Allah, and therefore from the category of lesser shirk. And we know that these things are common. And they've been common since the time of the Nabi sallallahu alayhi wasallam. And if a person wants to see some of the incidents of this, then one can look in the Kitab at-Tawfeeq of Shaykh al-Islam Muhammad ibn Abdul Wahhab rahimahullah ta'ala, because many incidents of this are mentioned. Like, for example, the one where the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, when they had travelled and they had camped in a certain place, and the people of that area, they had the practice of, on their camels and on their animals that they feared for, they were valuable to them, they would hang these, they used to call them tamima, nowadays they say ta'weez or taweez, okay, this ta'weez, they would hang it around the neck of the camel. Why? To stop evil eye and to protect it from being stolen, etc. The Prophet ﷺ, what did he say to the Sahaba? That go to the nearest effects, and one can see Kitab al-Tawheed for the reference. That go, all of you, and go around and do not leave any animal left except that you cut these tamimas and these ta'weeds from the necks of all of these animals. Why? Because the primary da'wah and the primary purpose of the Nabi is to call towards Tawheed and to negate Shirk. And there are other such stories. And so that's the first type of the lesser Shirk, okay? The ones that are apparent, meaning you can see the guys wearing a ta'weez. Okay? You can see these rings and these amulets and these things they hang in the houses with the numbers. Yeah? Noughts and crosses. Tayyib? You can see the things that they hang. Apparent shirk. And then there is the hidden, lesser shirk. Okay, the second type of the lesser shirk is the hidden one. The one that you can't see it. Okay, I don't know if you're doing shirk. You don't know if I'm doing shirk. This is something which the individual has to check their intention and check their mind, check their heart. And that is, they say, Shirk al-Khafi and other names. And the hadith which is in the hadith which is in the book of Imam Ahmad, where the Prophet ﷺ, he says, the thing that I fear most for you, for this ummah, is the hidden shirk. Sorry, the minor shirk, the lesser shirk. So the Sahaba radiallahu anhum, they asked the O Messenger of Allah, what is the minor shirk? And he said, Ar-Riya. Ar-Riya. This word Ar-Riya. Riya, what does it mean? Ostentation. The best English translation for it is ostentation. Ostentation means to do something for show. To do something which appears to be sincere, but reality is you're doing it for the praise or for the show of other people. Tayyib. An example of this is that a person is praying salah, for example, in the masjid, and the masjid is empty. And then during these 2 rak'ats of super fast tahiyatul masjid, super salah, speedy Ferrari salah, that you hear the door and somebody comes into the masjid, or you hear the voice of some people that have come into the masjid who you think, oh, I would like them to think highly of me. I would like these people to think that I'm quite pious, I'm a big sheikh. Then you start lengthening your salah, crying in the salah, pretending to cry in the salah, lengthening the salah, making your sujood long, performing all the sunan perfectly when before you were, all shoddy. For them, if you're doing it for them, then this is riya, and this is lesser shirk. Now tell me, ya ikhwan, if shirk is not a real problem which is staring us in the face every day, then tell me what is. Let's be honest. It is common. It is common. And it's not always the person's fault. Sometimes it may be something they do without thinking, and then they have to check themselves. But the point is, the Muslim has to be aware of it so that they keep on top and do not fall into these kind of things. Another type of this riya, or from this same category, is when a person does good deeds to obtain worldly status. For example, they learn ilm, they go to study with the scholars and they learn ilm so that people will pay them money to teach. Or they perform jihad so that for the wealth that they're going to get at the end of it, for the money that they'll gain from the war booty at the end of it, not for the sake of Allah. There's a hadith which is in Bukhari where the Prophet ﷺ, in this context of what we're discussing, he said that may the servant of the dinar perish. May the servant of the dinar perish. Meaning, the one who is not really a servant of Allah, is a servant of the dinar. What is the dinar? Form of currency, money. For us, the servant of the pound. The one who, his servitude, his worship, his good actions, they're not done for Allah, they're done for the money. They're done for the money. The Prophet ﷺ says about such a person, he makes a dua that may that person perish, meaning may they be destroyed. May they be destroyed. Further, Imam Ibn Qayyim, rahimahullah ta'ala, he says that as for shirk in desires and intentions, just look how subtle this shirk can become, ya ikhwan, if we're not careful. Shirk in desires and intentions. The Imam says, as for shirk in desires and intentions, then it is a sea which has no shore, meaning there's no end to the possibility of this. It's a deep thing. It is a sea which has not a shore. Very few are saved from drowning in it, and we ask Allah's protection. So whoever desires other than the face of Allah for his actions and intends something other than attaining closeness to him and seeking a reward from him, then he has indeed committed shirk in his intention and his desire. The Imam further says, sincerity, ikhlas, is that all of his actions and his statements and his intentions and his desires are made purely and solely for the sake of Allah Azza wa Jal, and this is the pure religion, Millatul Hanafiyyah, that Allah commanded all of his servants with, and nothing other than it will be accepted from any of them, and this is the reality of Islam. As Allah Azza wa Jal, what does he say in this regard? وَمَن يَبْتَغِ غَيْرَ الْإِسْلَامِ دِينًا فَلَن يُقْبَلَ مِنْهُ. That whoever seeks other than Islam as a religion, then it shall never be accepted from him. وَهُوَ فِي الْآخِرَةِ مِنَ الْخَاسِرِينَ. And in the hereafter he shall be from the losers. The Imam finishes off his statement by saying that this is the religion of Ibrahim alayhi salatu wassalam. And whoever dislikes it is foolish. Whoever dislikes it is foolish. Islam is clear cut, ya ikhwan, with regards to Tawheed and Shirk. Tawheed and Shirk are like light and dark. We must take Tawheed seriously. We must learn its pretexts. We must gravitate towards its love and towards its emphasizing. And if you are firm on it, then congratulations to you. Remind yourselves of it. Call your family to it. Call the world to it. And if you are not firm on it, then learn it and be reminded of it. And if you do not know it, then learn it. Everybody has a part to play in Tawheed. There is nobody that's free from being reminded and doing the work of Tawheed. For as long as shirk remains on the earth, there's da'wah to do, ya ikhwan. There's da'wah to do. With shirk, then may Allah Azza wa Jal protect us from it. Learn its pretext. What we gave last time about Tawheed was a bite-sized, although I spoke for too long and we went on for too long. But it was a bite-sized talk stroke lesson in the basics of what Tawheed is and the reality of it and its people. This has been a very bite-sized of what Shirk is, its definition, some of its proofs, how it's considered in Islam, how we must save ourselves from it. And we pray that Allah Azza wa Jal benefits us with that which we've heard from the Quran and the Sunnah and the words of the scholars. And anything that I have said, may Allah accept it from me. If I've made an error, then may Allah forgive me. And we pray that Allah Azza wa Jal makes us of those who are firm on Tawheed, free from Shirk, and the ones that call towards Tawheed and negate Shirk amongst ourselves and our families and our communities and the whole world, inshallah. Because this ultimately, ya ikhwan, is the work of the Anbiya alayhimus salatu wassalam. That is the Prophet's work. I'll end with this. Pray that this has been beneficial, bi'idhnillah. I request you all to support the work that we're doing in Leicester as well. Our organisation is called Markaz as-Sunnah Leicester. Markaz as-Sunnah Leicester. You can find us on the internet. We have a website as well, although our new website is going to be launched in a couple of weeks with more information. But there's a website there, markazsunnahleicester.com, all in one word, markazsunnahleicester.com. So you can find out information there, you can contact us, etc. Follow us on YouTube as well, because we have programs. We've had some of the scholars come. We had Sheikh Wasiullah Abbas from Mecca. We had Sheikh Asim al-Qaryuti from Riyadh. We had Sheikh Muhammad al-Maliki from Jeddah. We've had other Tullab al-Ilm from the UK. We have our own classes that we run there. We have things going up on YouTube all the time. So the brothers can benefit, bi'idhnillah, spread the message, and come down to some of our programs, ahlan wa sahlan. And inshallah we can work together, bi'idhnillah ta'ala. I'll end with this. Pray that Allah Azza wa Jal gives us the ability to understand. Subhanakallahumma wa bihamdika ashhadu an la ilaha illa anta wa astaghfiruka wa atubu ilayk.